CBSE Board, Class 11, History, Chapter 2, Part 32, Audio by Renee Matthew. The importance of geography and travel, and also mathematical geography was seen, which took a great turn in the Islamic world. We need to see the important works of geography, which allowed the people of the Arab world to get an access to culture and tradition all across the world. The two important works were Muqaddasi's Descriptive Geography. Another one is the Best Divisions, Ahsan al-Taqasib. This is a comparative study of people across the world, especially people from other parts of the world. It is like a big treasure trove, which has got a lot of details and importance of people all over the world. So geography and history was becoming very important, and it was a great combination that was found in the work known as Golden Meadows. The work is Muraj al-Dahab, which was actually written by Masudi in the year 943. It was to illustrate the wide variety of worldly cultures, how people were carrying themselves across the world. There's another person known as Al-Barudi. His work is Tahqiq Malil Hind, History of India. This was the first attempt by a Muslim writer to take interest in another culture, another belief, because India was not explored at this time. It was remaining unexplored. So Al-Baruni's attempt to go and actually see what is happening in a place like India is exceptional. By the 10th century, Islamic world had emerged as recognizable by the travelers. It was so provoking, and it gave an exotic importance into the culture and such kind of things of the people. So religious buildings were also gaining a lot of prominence. It was becoming symbols all around the world. Now we need to see about the architecture of mosque during the Arab Islamic world. There were a lot of buildings like mosques, shrines, tombs, especially from Spain and Central Asia, and it had got basic design which showed that it was the architecture of the Muslim world. The basic designs included arches, domes, minarets, and open courtyards, which expressed both spiritual and practical needs of Muslims. It had given a lot of emphasis on all these things of the Muslims. So in the first Islamic century, the mosque acquired a distinctive architectural form. And what is that distinctiveness? It is because of the roof that supported, which was supported by the pillars, and that actually transcended all the regional variations. It was not particular to a particular region. It was accepted by most of the mosques. Okay? The mosque also had an open courtyard. The name is Sun. It was a place where a fountain or pond was placed, and that led to a lot of vaulted hall. It had space for long lines of worshippers, and the prayer leader is always known as Imam. So these are the features of the architecture of the mosque. The roof, the courtyard, the vault, all these things which was able to accommodate long lines of worshippers. There are two important features which were located inside the hall. Another two important features were a niche, mihrab, in the wall, indicating the direction of Makkah. The direction is, even now it is important for all the religions, the direction in which you stand to worship. So that was, for the Muslims, it was the direction of the Mecca, Qibla, niche, that was there in the wall to indicate the direction. There was another thing known as the pulpit, minbar, pronounced as mimbar, okay? A pulpit is also seen in churches from where sermons were delivered. The main person, like the priest, will go to the pulpit, stand there and start giving sermons, especially during noon prayers on Friday. Usually on Fridays they will give these kind of sermons, which can be actually listened by everybody all over the region. Attached to the building was the minaret, a tower, a magnificent tower, which was used to call for prayer. It was a faithful call on prayer at the appointed times. Like whenever there is a time for prayer, so prayer calls were there. It was to symbolize the presence of the new faith, where people will start calling the prayer. Even now we can witness that, right? So time was marked in cities and villages by 5 daily prayers. Daily they will have 5 prayers, and weekly sermons were there. Even now they follow that. The same pattern of construction of buildings appeared not just for mosques and mausoleums. Mausoleums are stately tomb where great people are buried. Okay, so central courtyard, all these things were not particular only to mosques and mausoleums, but also in caravanserai. Roadside inns also took these architecture, the architectural features that we saw just now. All these things were followed even in the caravans and the inns. Okay, even in hospitals and palaces they had this Muslim architecture. Even if you go to Mysore, the Mughal style of construction, everything has got this style. The Umayyad dynasty was very famous for building desert palaces, especially in oases. Desert palaces, 2 important ones are Kirbat al-Mafjar in Palestine, Qusayr Amra in Jordan. They were serving as luxurious residences and retreats for hunting and pleasure. People who went for hunting and for worldly pleasures or some kind of pleasurable activities, they can stay in these desert palaces and take rest. They can resort to rest there. The pictures are given there. The remains are still, even now it is found, of the one which is in Palestine. Look at all the remains. Here, this is of the one which is found in Jordan. The remains and the paintings and everything is very peculiar to the Islamic Arab world. The palaces were actually modeled on Roman and Sasanian architecture. Roman and Iranian architecture. It was modeled, that was a role model for them, which was lavishly decorated with sculptures, mosaics and paintings of people. So everything was included. This is Roman architecture. All these 3 are Sasanian architecture. So that was the detailing that they gave. So engravings were there, sculptures were there, mosaic, all these forms of art was found on the walls. The Abbasid dynasty built a new imperial city in Samarra. A new imperial city was built in Samarra by the Abbasids. It was between the gardens and running waters, a beautiful city. And this particular city is found in stories and legends revolving around Harun al-Rashid. It's a very important city amidst the Samarra, amidst gardens and running waters, which talks about stories and legends. Lord of great palaces of the Abbasid caliphs in Baghdad, or the Fatimids, all these people's palaces in Cairo have actually disappeared. We don't have access to any of these palaces. It only leaves a trace in the literary text. Nobody has got to see about these palaces because no remains are there. We can only read about it in the literary texts. The rejection of representing living beings in the religious art of Islam. Okay, so there was a kind of rejection which was faced all over the Arab world, especially representing the living beings. The one which rejected the living beings were calligraphy, katati, or the art of beautiful writing. Another one is arabesque, which is geometric and vegetal designs. This did not include any living beings. It was other representations. It was other forms of art. There were a lot of inscriptions, especially of religious quotations, both small and big, that were used to decorate architecture. Calligraphic art was very famous. It was preserved in the manuscripts of Quran. And you know how much time is consumed when you have to do a calligraphic art. Especially in the manuscripts of Quran it is found, which dates back to 8th and 9th centuries, calligraphy. Okay, so these 2 forms of art is very important, calligraphy and arabesque. Now what about the literary works? The literary works such as Kitab al-Aghani, Book of Songs, Kalila wa Dimna, Maqamat of Hariri, these 3 were illustrated with miniature paintings. So these 3 works of literature were illustrated with paintings. Illustrations that we find now is mostly computerized, right? but that was like illustrated with paintings. In addition, there was a wide variety of illumination techniques. Illumination was actually done. That was also introduced to enhance the beauty of the book when a lot of illumination was done. And you should remember that the scribes or the people who did it took a lot of time. They consumed a lot of time and energy to do it. So what were the paintings that was found that one could find on the book? Plain, plant, floral designs. Plant and floral designs were based on the designs found in the garden, and that was used in buildings and book illustrations. So everywhere, all these texts made use of the designs and the paintings. So the history of the Central Islamic world brings together three important factors. This point is exclusively important. What is that the Islamic world brings together? Religion, community, politics. These three things are bound together in the world of Islamic land. We can see these three things as three circles which merge and appear as one in the 7th century. So these three things are merged together, and this is the one which binds all the factors in the Islamic world, especially in the 7th century. But after the 7th century, we can see that these factors actually separated themselves. Religion, community, and politics got separated. They became separate entities. Towards the end of our period, the influence of Islam, state, and government was minimal. So towards the end of this period, everything started disintegrating. Politics got involved with many other things. It was not at all related with religion after that. Earlier it was not like that. Community, religion, politics, everything was merged. So kingship, civil wars, all these things did not take resort to religion at all. The circles of religion and community overlapped. Okay, they had some commonalities, religion and community. The Muslim community, what is that one binding factor between religion and community? The Muslim community was united on the observance of Sharia, both in rituals and personal matters. They observed Sharia. What is Sharia? It was governing itself, no more governing itself. Politics was a separate circle, but it had some relation with religious identity also, Sharia. It was merged. The only way the circles of religion and community could have separated was through progressive secularization of Muslim society. If there was a progress in secularizing the Muslim society, these two could have been separated, but that was not happening even here. That is what they're trying to say. There is a commonality between religion and community. Sharia was practiced. No secularism was practiced. So philosophers and Sufis advocated this. They suggested that the society should be made autonomous. It should be made independent. And it can be replaced by private spirituality. Why should you have for a commonality where everybody will do the same thing? Community feeling shouldn't be there. You can make it privatized. You can make it personalized. And there should be more independence. You also read that Sufis were people who kind of practiced asceticism. Do you remember asceticism and mystic feelings that they practiced? Asceticism is giving away oneself, denial of all the pleasures, but they were very independent. So philosophers and Sufis said that we should give more autonomous beliefs to these people. It shouldn't be bound together. Religion and community should not be bound together. So when it is bound together, it is known as Sharia. And what is the one thing that can be done to separate it? The progressive secularization of Muslim society. Very important point. So this is like one question, and in this one question you can find so many points.